And for today's episode, it's about this deck. Not my deck, but, well, kind of. I'm actually talking about my opponent's deck, because it is an interesting deck. The ENCHATMENT-nator. Yeah, it's a lousy name. Definitely a lousy name. Here's how it works. You see those things in the graveyard? They're enchantments. One thing that you should keep in mind, the base of the deck is pretty much the same as how my deck works, which is using Faithful Mending to bring cards into the graveyard. Same goes with Otherworldly Gaze, which also bring cards into the graveyard. And it's easy for him to do that because he has a lot of enchantments, including Captive Audience and Excellence Binding. And each of them does weird, awful things once they are in play. And yeah, that's the first part of it, wherein they keep on drawing cards and discarding cards, which are mostly enchantments, which they will bring from the graveyard back into play with their suspend card. So right now, this is game 1. Somewhere in the latter part of this, I will make a mistake. So first, this is my first mistake. I kept on forcing Kaya's Guile because I noticed how it works. I can see the graveyard. Look at this. I could have waited one more turn to have Counterspell backup. Although yes, I will not be able to counter Dovin's Veto, but at least I could have countered this if I waited one more turn. And since I already exhausted my Kaya's Guile's option from casting it the first time, being countered, casting it with flashback using snap and still being countered, I don't have a way of dealing with this hexproof 8/8 beast. My only other option is to get Arcane of Cruelty, either casting it directly from my hand, which I believe I can at this point, or getting it from my graveyard, which didn't happen. I didn't draw it. I got Persist, but I don't have the card. I don't have Archon in my graveyard, so that's that. That way. Now, since I already know what my opponent is, and since you saw exactly what happened in game 1, I guess I can say that I'm well prepared in game 2. I also sideboarded Disenchantment, or include Disenchantment in my sideboard. So I have 2 lands, but I have Glasspool Mimic and I do have Disenchant in my hand, so I kept it. I also have Quicken and Consider, which will allow me to draw cards eventually and hopefully get me more lands, because that's what I needed at this point. I needed more lands. I need to make sure they keep on playing lands. So far, so good. And since we know that the first few turns will be them casting Faithful Mending and putting cards into their graveyard, I have enough time to build my hand, get more lands and all that, so I have enough time. And I also have Counterspell as backup for the first attempt to put their whatever they have in their graveyard back into the battlefield, into play. And so far I kept on getting lands, so I haven't missed playing a land yet. And right now I have Gifts and Giving, which I can cast at the end of my opponent's turn, because now they're casting Faithful Mending and they now have Captive Audience in their graveyard, which is scary. So with Gifts and Giving, I think I already explained it in my previous video that what I would normally get here is Faithful Mending, Unburial Rites, and then Archon of Cruelty, and then another card that I can randomly pick that they will most likely choose to put in my graveyard. And that's what happened. I chose Counterspell, they put it in my graveyard, and they left me with Archon of Cruelty and Unburial Rites in my hand, which is fine. Now they have Resurgence belief this is their persist, basically speaking. This will bring pretty much whatever enchantment that they have in their graveyard back into the battlefield. And those two cards that I'm looking at right now in the graveyard, they're both scary. And then I will try to counter this, but they have Dovin's Veto. So, here it is. It finally happened. They managed to reanimate their enchantment, ENCHATMENT-nator. Again, a lousy name, sorry. So they have Captive Audience, enchanting me, because that's what it does. And once it goes back to my turn, I will choose any of the three. In the consecutive next turns, I will have to choose the next one that I didn't choose from my previous turn. So what are these three options? Well, none of them are good. First one is, now I have a 19 life total. If I choose the first option, my life total will go down to 4. And then I have the second option, which is to discard my entire hand. And then I have the last option, which is not good either, which is to give my opponent 5 black zombies. But the problem is, I will have to choose them eventually, because I can't choose what I chose the turn before. For the second card, that's Cruel Reality. Either I sacrifice a creature or planeswalker, or I lose 2 life. Luckily enough, I have a creature, Snapcaster, which I will be forced to sacrifice on my turn. Now, here's my thought process here. Since we have it in play, and there's nothing we can do about it, it will happen no matter what. Once my turn begins, I will be sacrificing Snapcaster, and then Captive Audience, I will choose to bring my life down to 4. That's my first option. Why? Because I can't lose my hand yet. I can't discard my entire hand. Not yet. I also have Unburial Rites here in my hand right now, and I can cast it. I have Celestial Colonnade. I also still have Faithful Mending. I also have Disenchant in my hand. However, they also have 2 cards left. And what are the chances of one of them is the counterspell? Probably 50% chance. Either way, I can use Disenchant to destroy one of them. If they don't counter it, then at least it's just 1 enchantment that I have to worry about instead of 2. If they counter it, now a huge chance that Unburial Rites will go through without worrying about it being countered. So that's my thought process here. And here's what happened. So I cast Disenchant, and it got countered. So yeah, they do have a counter spell. So I got Persist, which allowed me to use Persist instead. I managed to bring my life up to 7, bring down my opponent's life total to 13. I now have a way to cast another creature, which is Glasspool Mimic, copying Archon of Cruelty, which will bring my life up to 10 and will get me another card. So I now have enough lands to activate Celestial Colonnade and attack, and almost enough time to survive and kill my opponent. So you know what's going to happen here. So let me show you. So I'm going to cast Glasspool Mimic, copying Archon, making my opponent's life total down to 10, and we're both down to 10. I'm up to 10, he's down to 10. Passing my turn back to my opponent. Didn't do anything at all. I will be sacrificing the original Archon. This time I will be discarding my hand because again, you can't choose the same option you chose the first time on your previous turn. Which is fine because I can still use Unburial Rites to get Archon back. And look at that. I survived thanks to Unburial Rites and Gifts and Giving, because they all showed up exactly when I needed them. So in game 3, what happened? So I got, look at this. This is my opening hand. Ashok. I got Disenchanted Ashok. I even have Vindicate. And I have Teferi. And I have 3 lands. I can cast pretty much all of them. So all I have to do is to make sure that my opponent taps out for casting their spells or suspending their reanimator spell for their enchantment, and then time it and cast Ashok. Because in the first few turns, as we all know, that's what he's doing, is putting cards in this graveyard. Just like that, we suspended Resurgent. So I can cast Ashok here. And as soon as I did, they conceded. I got them. And good game. It's a really nice deck. It has a really good potential. I like how the deck works. I'm a fan. And that would be it for me for now. If it's your first time here, please do consider subscribing. And see you again in the next episode. Ciao.